that
Let's
live button
go.
going for Big Brandon.
Live. I'm gonna post on my story.
Don't worry, this ain't Steve Trang right here though, so you
I
got
know.
a little downgrade on podcast over the last week, but it'll still work. It'll still do something, right?
Yeah, it's not working out here. But
How was Phoenix when you went?
Phoenix was sweet. It's I mean, I didn't really see much. I went from the airport to their office, and from their office to the airport, and that's about it. But the inside of the airport looked great.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like
I was
playing the
video. He's got this whole new studio.
I was gonna ask that. How was that new
sick.
studio?
Yeah, it's like a late night TV show or something, like a talk show. It's cool though. My neck is permanently.
I was gonna say that. That's the only thing that stinks. Like you're gonna be turning like this the entire.
Yeah, it was cool though. I like it. It was really comfy. You know, almost fell asleep.
Hey.
Yeah, let's go. Well, all right. I guess let's get into it. So today we got Brandon on the podcast. Gino, if you can throw the nameplates back on there, I like them better. Or do you like it without them?
I didn't even put a nameplates. What are you talking about?
I like to read.
I didn't
whenever
touch
I'm doing this. So, but anyways, so today we got Brandon Bateman on, and basically he's the digital marketing king of real estate. So I'll just let him introduce himself. Yeah,
I love that. You said it better than I ever could, Jen.
Dude, I mean, what can I say? Just here to gas you up, bro.
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, you told me to introduce myself. I can't even do better than that. But, anyways, yeah, that's. I'll be a little bit more humble. So that's I run a company, and what we do is specifically motivated seller lead gen through online channels. We specialize in Facebook, PPC, SEO. We work with investors in over 80 markets across the United States now, and love this industry, love generating leads, and we think we're really good at it.
Heck yeah.
So
let's start, Brandon. How many clients do you have right now? So we get a little overview.
It's close to 100. I'm just shy of 100. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Big Brandon. And tell us the journey now. I know we got your idea where you're at now, right? 100 plus clients. And I know you talked a little bit on Steve's podcast about this, but tell us where it all started, digital marketing.
Yeah, it's a good question. So I got started in this industry back when I was in college, actually. So I really liked marketing. I was really interested in it. I wanted to do it, but I didn't know how to do it. So what I did is I just decided that I was going to find an internship and learn and that kind of stuff. I'm by the way, I'm not like one of those people that's like a natural born entrepreneur that the only thing they ever wanted to do is work for themselves and have freedom or something. I would be a dang good corporate employee. That was my path, and I would be fine with that. Like even now, I'm like, okay, sure, I'll do that. Like I'm not like stuck on freedom and all that kind of stuff. But I was frustrated because what I really cared about more than anything was learning, and the only thing I could find was like an unpaid internship where you go look like just ridiculous work that I just didn't think was actually going to help me learn anything. So I just hated how slow that'd be. So I figured if I'm not going to get paid anyways, I might as well just do it for free on my own terms. So that day I emailed a whole bunch of companies locally and just said, let me do your marketing. I don't care if you pay me. I don't care how much you pay me. I don't care what you want me to do. I just want to do marketing. And if you'll let me learn, then I'll do it. And that was kind of the beginning of Bateman Collective. We started, I started at that point doing work for different companies. Turns out the company that I started doing work for free, they gave me a referral to someone else. That person gave me a referral to someone else. And that someone else was Cody Hoffheim in his real estate business here in Utah. And that was my introduction to that. Now, by that point, I wasn't free anymore. But I was, but I somehow convinced him I could do a good job. And that was kind of my introduction to this industry. So over several years, at that point, he had done close to 150,000 in wholesale assignments from his website that year. And we took it to this past year, and we're still adding up all these deals and everything, but north of 1.5 million somewhere. and help them clients from digital marketing. And
that's awesome.
That's been the whole path. Of course, through that, we learned that we're really good at doing this in this industry, and we started finding other clients, and now we're at the point where this is all we do.
Heck yeah! Look at that.
Yeah, that's sick. That's sick. So you guys do just PPC and Facebook, or like what all do you guys service?
So there's three core channels. There's Facebook ads, pay-per-click ads, through like Google, for example, and SEO. And all three of those kind of have their own place. Like our biggest clients, of course, are doing all three of those. Fair budget on each. And then our smaller clients maybe just doing one channel and a little bit of a lighter strategy. So we sort of have it all. But that's what the services look like. So really, like one of the core pieces of value that we add to someone is they come to us kind of saying what their goals are, and we will help them understand what they should do digitally, whether that's a mix of those different channels, whether digital marketing is not even something they should do based on their situation, whether we just start lightly with one thing or light on 3 channels, or we go heavy on all 3, or whatever the case is, we can kind of figure out what works for them. And we'll analyze where they're at and kind of build a plan moving forward. I know we kind of did something similar with you, Chandler, on your SEO side, doing that analysis and kind of figuring out where you're at. And if we did move forward on that channel, what would we have to do? That's kind of how it works when you work with us. So we don't just say like, here's the list of services, choose what you want. You come to us, we tell you what you need.
Yeah, literally we had an hour-long conversation of SEO and stuff that's just far over most people's heads. So, and they're dialed in. But anyways, I think most people know PPC and Facebook and like have a good understanding of what it is. But SEO, I think you have a super interesting and unique point of view on how you view it. So I'd appreciate if you share that with everyone.
Yeah, I think it's interesting you say that, because I don't actually know what's super unique about my view on SEO.
I've never heard it. I've never heard it once.
What did you think was unique about what I shared with you?
I think the biggest thing is that you're talking about how not only are you ranking on the platform, but the platform itself is growing, right? So like, yes, you're getting the real estate, like you're getting the digital real estate side of it by ranking #1 for whatever key search term. But then you're talking about how this key search term has double the amount of volume than it did 2 or 3 years ago, or whatever the time frame was. Like that's pretty worthy,
Yeah. Let's talk about that. So to kind of lay the foundation, just in case somebody here doesn't even know what we're talking about, we should probably at least define SEO, and then we'll work into that kind of stuff. But SEO stands for search engine optimization. If you think about what Google is made for, Google is made to give the most relevant result to whatever someone is looking for. It looks for relevance and authority. And SEO is basically the game of convincing Google that that's you instead of one of your competitors. And that happens through all kinds of different stuff. But the whole goal with SEO is if you optimize properly for the search engine, you can start showing up under the certain keywords. And it has huge value, because what happens is while you're sleeping, while you're not working, whatever the case is, people are going to be searching on Google. They're going to be looking at Google search results. They're going to find you. And by the way, when they do, you don't necessarily pay something for that like you do in pay-per-click. And those are the thing that's unique about pay-per-click and SEO compared to any other marketing channels is it's people finding you. There's no other marketing channel that starts with them looking for you. All the other channels start with you going to them. And because of that, it tends to be a very high lead quality channel. The leads tend to have higher motivation. So that's what's really amazing about it. You can rank there. Those leads can actually come to you. Like SEO is great in a lot of ways. The tough part being that it takes time, of course, to do the optimization and show up there. That's the reason it's not good. But what a lot of people think is there's value to having that ranking on Google. It's like a cash flow asset. Picture it like buying real estate in one of these really good cash flow markets, like in Ohio somewhere or something like that, where you're going to get that ranking. And that the Google ranking is kind of like real estate in the internet, because you're there and you get the foot traffic, so to speak, but instead it's online traffic that comes from being there. and that will generate revenue. But what I had explained to Chandler and what we're really excited about for SEO is we think there's a huge first mover advantage on this for people that are getting into it. And the reason being, rankings are hard to get, but they're easy to maintain. And not only, like, once you're maintaining it, the value is just exponentially increasing over time. Because if we look at keywords that are common for this industry, statistically, since 2018, since I started doing this, most of them have either doubled or tripled in the number of people that are searching them each day. And what that means, assuming you have the same ranking, is you're getting double or triple the number of leads from having that ranking. And if you look even all the way back to when Google started, 2004, it all models pretty well to an exponential curve. And part of that is we have an older industry, and those really, really old people that don't know how to use Google, there's becoming less and less of them. And the new old people do know how to use Google. And there's kind of that growth there. And additionally, there's growth and awareness about how you can be doing this stuff. Every time anybody spends more money marketing, like you guys out there with your TV commercials saying, we'll buy your house for cash on TV, that plants in other people's minds that my house could be bought by cash and I could potentially work with a home buying company. That kind of thing raises awareness for the whole industry, and it creates more search volume. So through all kinds of different means, the point is that's growing, and SEO is not just a cash flow asset, it's also an appreciation asset. And I think there's a really great, like, in my mind, SEO is the ultimate long-term play.
I like that. I mean, I agree. I mean, you look at all these guys. I mean, if you search the first thing that pops up, yeah, I usually scroll past the PPC anyways because it's not always that relevant. And then you get down to the first result, and that's usually who I click on. And as long as they answer the phone, then that's who we use to do whatever we need to do, right? So, with that being said, it was like, and if you got anything you can weigh in.
Yeah, no, I was saying that the cash flow asset. A lot of people are not looking at it. It's like a little rental property there. The SEO, bringing in that passive income once you build it up. Once you make that down payment every single month.
You're like owner financing a house. Start cash flowing you at some point.
But that's the thing about SEO that doesn't exist for any other marketing channel. There is no other marketing channel where you're building an actual asset. You could argue like you're building a brand and stuff like that, and that matters. But the point is, SEO, what makes it different from other channels is usually the marketing channel is something where you put dollars in, you get leads out. SEO is a way where you basically use those dollars to now make your machine generate 2 leads a month instead of 1 lead a month. And then you put more dollars in next month to make it generate 3 leads a month instead of 2. And you build up that actual asset, and it has tangible value. So there's nothing else quite like it.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's pretty sick. So I know there's a big difference between these leads that come in from like SEO and PPC, and like, I don't know if you want to get into it or not, but like a lot of people, cold calling SMS, it's more of a volume game. Like, how many people can we get through to find a person who wants to sell? But it's pretty different for inbound leads. And what have you seen from your clients who are crushing it? Like, what are they doing right?
It's a good question. So you're asking from the lead management side.
Yeah, fulfillment of the lead gen, basically.
Yeah, I think there's 3 things that really matter here. So to give you a little bit of context for this, like every client we work with says they have the world's best acquisitions team.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, if you're going to have the world's best acquisitions team, you're going to have to think that, right? I don't have any problem with them thinking that.
Exactly.
But the point is, statistically, some of our clients do exceptionally well with this, and some of our clients do much worse. And we look at and interview deeply the clients that are doing really, really well, and we interview the clients that are doing not very well, and we figure out what are the differences between those. So we've seen some trends. So not like I'm the real estate sales master. I've never been in a seller's house in my life. But I can tell you, those who are succeeding, this is what they're doing from a process standpoint. That's different from those that aren't. Of course, there's sales skills that are necessary here. You got to be able to close the appointment and all that kind of stuff. But 3 things. Number 1, the time between when a lead comes in and when you contact it. For our clients that are doing exceptionally well with these kinds of leads, that is most often below 60 seconds. we have clients that are hitting 5 minutes, and those that are at 60 seconds are doing better than those that are at 5 minutes. And 5 is better than 15. We encourage extremely fast follow-up. And this wasn't as important, back a few years ago. It's really a factor of how quick your competition is, and you have to be faster than the competition. I can tell you, in most markets, there's somebody in your competition that's really, really fast. And the thing is, a lot of people think speed is all about the patience of the seller. Like, I want to get to them quick because they want their offer or something. In this case, it's not really. I think of speed as a way of like beating out your competition, because the thing, we talked about all the reasons that search marketing is really good. They're motivated, all that kind of stuff. The thing that's tough about it is they're looking at a big old list of everybody else that they can work with, all right next to each other, all at the exact moment they want to make a decision. What do a lot of people do? They reach out to multiple companies there. Very common. So let's just say, theoretically, the seller just reached out to another company 60 seconds ago. Now they're reaching out to you. If you want to get in touch with that seller first, you have to call that seller within 60 seconds in order to beat that other company that only has to call them within 2 minutes. And really, let's just say you don't, you're going to call that person and they're not going to answer the phone. Let's say that other company is really good at building rapport, really good at making the seller feel like they are the solution, that nobody else matters. They're going to completely ghost you, and you're going to think this was a bad lead.
Yeah.
The reality was you were too slow. And speed really, really matters, I guess, is my point there. Because it's not about being fast, it's about being faster than your competition. And you don't know, they could have filled out your competitor's form 5 minutes ago, and now they're filling out yours. And you might have 10 seconds before the competitor's going to call them, right? You don't know how important the timing is. But the first person the seller talks to is more likely than not going to be the person to do business with. So you have to try to make that you and increase your chances.
Yeah. I think like taking that from a consumer standpoint, it's like when we get quotes for jobs or whatever, like whoever's the first person that calls me back is usually who wins the job for whatever it is. It's not like it's rocket science. Like someone calls me back 5 minutes. Oh, sorry, man, I already got someone. They're out of luck because they're slower. They didn't answer the phone.
Yeah, speed is so important. And even on appointments, I was just talking to a client the other day. They get this lead last Thursday, and they call the seller. They were quick on that, and the seller says, "I don't have time today. Can you come by tomorrow?" They go by tomorrow, and the seller says, "I'm so sorry. I sold the house last night," and they missed it.
Missed it.
The point is, there's a right time. Like a lot of our clients, when it comes to speed, that are doing really well, they're the kind of people that are like, "I'm so sorry. I'm already on my way to your house right now. Like, are you sure you can?"
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. And they're getting there. They don't even let the seller have a chance to talk to someone else. Like they'll be on the phone while driving, and they'll finish up the appointment in person. The point is, extreme urgency when you're dealing with highly competitive leads is the difference between someone who closes the leads that are closable and someone who loses those to the competitors. So it's a really important principle.
Agreed for sure.
So
we got our boy Isaiah too, Stover. Brandon, what's good?
That's the man.
Yeah. So we got another question though. Chandler, do you have anything to say? Go ahead.
Hit the questions up.
So Facebook user, how are states that are restricting wholesaling affecting SEO, if at all? Brandon, you want to answer that?
That's a solid question. I mean, we work with investors that generally haven't been affected by this because they've worked their ways around it or things like that. And they're generally larger operations that have those types of things a little bit more figured out to where they're not getting cut out. However, I can tell you, Google's not going to really care about if someone is approved or not for, like, if they have a license, for example, for a state that's restricting wholesaling. Theoretically, that would only help SEO because anything that cuts out your competition makes it easier for you. But Google's not going to verify that you're licensed to do this. They're just going to try to show the most relevant website based on the metrics that they can see. And an industry this niche with that weird of a thing, like it's so far from Google's radar to actually care about that. So my thought is it's probably just not going to affect SEO at all. The only effect would be if somebody gets cut out because of those restrictions, and because of that, they don't invest money into SEO that they would have invested invested otherwise. That theoretically makes the game a little easier.
Yeah, I guess that would make sense. So what are some tangible things, like if you're, I guess like if we're starting to do like an SEO, like let's say you're starting to do a mini campaign yourself, like what are some low hanging fruit objectives to hit?
That's a great question. So objectives to hit, or like things that you could do if you're starting to do this yourself. I might not be the best person to ask this because I don't really believe in dabbling, if that makes sense. I think if you're going to do it, you do it. And
Go all in.
You go all in, you do it right. So like, I mean, I've seen people dabble in SEO, like maybe just do a little technical optimization on this point of the site. Or, I mean, I know you guys have done some stuff like that at some point. The point is like, you're going to achieve almost nothing. So it's just almost not worth your time to do like a teeny bit. There's one exception to that. And that would be something that actually adds value in the future and that you can't necessarily go back and fix. And that would be gathering Google reviews. This is something where if you aren't doing this, the thing is, if you decide to start gathering Google reviews today and you start really working on your SEO in a year, it'll be so much easier to get rankings at that point in a year than if you started working on Google reviews then. The reason is Google reviews are a ranking signal for Google, and it takes a long time to build a lot of them up. So the earlier you can start with that, the better. And Google likes age. Google favors companies that have been around longer, that have been credible for longer. So even if you haven't done much SEO work, but you've been getting Google reviews for 5 years, that's really valuable. So I would prioritize getting the Google My Business listing. Super simple. Search on Google, Google My Business. And you can create a listing for your company. You give them like your hours, your phone number, your address, that kind of stuff. And then sending sellers to there to give reviews of your company. And as you gather those over time, that will be a good asset for SEO. You could potentially even achieve some organic lead flow without additional SEO work. You do really, really well with that. Of course, it's just one piece of the puzzle, so it's a fraction of your true potential. But the point is, it's a pretty big ranking signal.
Yeah. So the Google reviews, I guess like that makes sense too, because Gino's huge on this. Anytime we go somewhere, oh, they got 4.6 stars with 2,000 reviews. He loves that.
You got to find the best thing. You got to find the best people.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, it's not just about credibility. Like, yeah, if you have 2,000 reviews and 4.6 stars, people think that you're more credible. That's absolutely true, and that matters, right? There's something to saying. You can go look at all these reviews from sellers that we work with, even in the acquisitions process, right? It can help so many facets of your business. But the thing that people overlook with Google reviews is not only they help you gain more credibility with the people already in your network, they will bring new people into your network that wouldn't have been there otherwise, because having those reviews tells Google to rank your website higher in search engines. And therefore you'll get additional traffic you would have gotten otherwise. So Google reviews serve you in two ways, versus if you look at like making testimonial videos or something like that. That's good, but that only builds the credibility. That doesn't build the traffic as well, which is the core value of Google reviews.
I like that. We got a question here. I came in a little bit late, but do you run any Facebook ads? And what's your take on Facebook ads?
Let's talk about Facebook ads now.
Facebook.
How many do you think you run? I mean, you run so many ads, but how many ad spend do you think? Yeah, you have a couple. I know that.
Yeah, we're probably spending at least $300 or $400 a month on Facebook right now.
Say it again. Your mic broke up a little bit.
Oh, sorry. I said we're probably spending at least $300 or $400 a month on Facebook right now.
300 to 400K a month.
On that, real quick, how much ad spend do you guys spend a month?
Across that in Google, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, I'd have to look at it, but it's yeah. We probably spend an equal amount on Facebook with Google. So if I had to guess, that maybe 600, maybe 800, something like that, which is decent. You know, it sounds like a lot of money in this industry. I honestly, like when we used to work with companies outside of this industry, I had Facebook ads clients spending 40 or 50 grand a day on Facebook.
How much?
40 or 50 grand a day. Like we had clients that spent big money on Facebook. We had a client that spent like $4 million a month on Google.
Jeez, what were they doing?
They are in a lot of industries. That was across 10 websites, probably at least 15 industries, and nationwide, of course. And but they had like an online chat service for like, you know, talk to an expert stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can talk to a lawyer or to a doctor or like all that stuff through online chat. So they would bid on stuff like, you know, people asking like medical questions or tax questions or stuff like that, and say like, you can chat with an expert right now. It costs this much money. But anyways, that's so anyway, I've spent a ton of money. Like if you add it all together, like between you know, between like projects, because like, and that stuff, like especially some of the bigger clients like that one, they're more consulting stuff. But if you look at like all those projects I have together, I've spent at least 100 million across these platforms. But Facebook is it's our single largest ROI channel for paid ads right now. So if you're looking between Google ads and Facebook ads, Facebook is outperforming Google from an ROI standpoint. So we love Facebook. There's some reasons that you could love it and some reasons you might not. The lead quality on Facebook is going to be lower than those search leads. So you got to be willing to deal with some junk. It's not like 100% inbound marketing. It's going to be a little bit closer to outbound, but it's still 20 or 30 leads to a deal, which is pretty typical compared to outbound channels where it's not uncommon to be 50 to 80 leads per deal, right? So it's a better quality lead than that, but it's not the 10 or 15 leads to a deal that you can get with like pay-per-click or SEO. But the leads, while they close at statistically half the rate, they cost a third the cost. So really the cost per contract ends up being lower. It's just a little bit more work to kind of get through them. And then the other big one with Facebook that's really nice is the deals tend to be bigger than search deals, specifically Google ads, SEO. They have more motivation and they tend to get bigger deals than other channels, but because of the competition level on them, that tends in most markets to bring the average assignment down in comparison to Facebook, which for many of our clients is their largest deal channel when they're running it. They tend to get bigger deals because the leads tend to be more exclusive, even though they're not quite as motivated. So that's
so you're not running
a better ROI.
Gotcha. So you're not running up against as many other offers, because I guess if you're thinking, you're just scrolling through your feed and you just see like Gino on there, like, I'll buy your house, and then you click on it, and then like next thing you know, you're in a sales call, and then you didn't even think about selling your house till then. Is that kind of the way it works?
Yeah. Yes.
Brandon.
Yes.
I got a question for you. Do you do any virtual, like any, not virtual, but like video ads? Like if I ran my TV commercial, like would you do a TV like part of the TV commercial on Facebook?
You definitely could. I have most of the time we've tested that hasn't worked super well, specifically with the TV commercial.
Gotcha.
But we have one client where it worked really well, and it was because their TV commercial was really similar to the kind of things that we see performing well on Facebook. It was a little bit odd for TV. It was almost a little bit more like the stuff we run on Facebook. The core difference there, and this is also why Facebook can have a lower barrier to entry than TV, is a TV ad has to be high production quality.
Yeah.
On Facebook, we actually get worse results with high production quality videos. We do better with videos that are filmed with the phone.
Like a selfie, like.
Yes, we love those, and the reason being it's native. Like that's a lot of what exists.
Yeah, it's all over Facebook.
That would make sense.
So
it's the vertical.
Yeah, like we had, just to give an example, like that client I told you about before, that was spending like 40 or 50 grand a day on Facebook. They spent 100 grand making this video. It was like, it was really good. It was made by the Harvard Brothers. I don't know if you know them. They're like the ones that made like Squatty Potty.
Oh, really?
And, like,
really?
All that other stuff. But they're famous for like making really, really good videos. But we did that, and then we just took like a simple like boomerang of their product. This was back in e-commerce with a phone, and it outperformed that $100,000 video, like by a huge margin. And you just like step out into like the parking lot and take a little video with your phone real quick, and it worked better. And that's kind of how Facebook is sometimes. So like the videos that we see working really well are testimonial videos. Those are always great, and I love selfie style videos. taking the
Selfies.
phone, talking about how you help sellers, really genuine, just connecting well with them. And especially if you can have that person that's in the video be the same person that shows up at the house later, you just start building that rapport from
Oh yeah, they trust you.
contact your
Yeah.
company.
Oh, it's instant.
Yeah. So it's those have been our best performing assets recently.
Huh.
I like
Would
that.
you have you ever ran like for a company that has multiple acquisitions, run different Facebook ads of each like acquisition person doing something like that, or has that been like a split test that you've done?
We've commonly run multiple ads for a company with different acquisitions people in them, but we haven't like had one guy's leads go to that guy and then another guy's leads go to them. Like we haven't done it like that. Although it's sort of an intriguing idea. It has a lot of complication that would have its own negative side effects, but of course, if the positive would be high enough, then it could overcome the negatives. But it's we haven't done quite that. But
Yeah, it's getting pretty up there in complication, I'm sure.
well, because then you have to have separate landing pages, then you have to have separate ad campaigns, then you can't let Facebook automatically optimize the way it would otherwise. Like there's reasons where if that didn't have a positive effect, it would have a negative effect. But let's just say it's 1 point down, but because of the other factors, it's 2 points up.
Yeah,
it could be worth it. So that's like that granularity and segmentation in Facebook is it has to have a really good purpose for it to actually work.
Makes sense. So like, yeah, like I guess like if us three all film different ads saying the same thing, we would probably all appeal to different people. I'm guessing from like looks. Have you noticed anything like that too? I know we're getting pretty deep in here, but
totally. And it's hard to say what's different because like we've never had two ads from different people that are exactly the same in every other way.
Yeah.
Because you'd have to like do that with a computer or something. You know, like take your same video camera and make you black instead. Like post-production. Like that would be the only true split test.
Like, Chandler.
So I'm sure Bob Chandler would kill it. We really
I know
he's completely white now.
We would crush that.
White as can be.
Do you think we could do that? Like, is that something we could do?
I mean, it's not my skill set. I'm sure someone could do that for you. There's someone on Fiverr that's got a business built around that. I'm sure.
Exactly.
The point that I don't even know how you clean these split tests out, right? But we've had like similar videos from like different people, and it's not uncommon that one resonates better with someone than the other one. And you kind of, I don't know if intentionally or not, alluded to something that's kind of important with Facebook. It's not just about which one works best. It's about which one works best for a particular subset of people. This is why we never run only videos. We'll run images as well. And the reason is some people on Facebook respond better to images, other people's to videos. So we just run the images to those that respond well to the images and the videos to those that respond well to videos. Everything kind of happens like that. So you can pull the most volume out of a market by having a wide variety of creative assets because different things will appeal to different people.
So like Facebook, their algorithm is basically what they do is figure out what audience likes it, and then that's who sees it.
Yes, it's Facebook's common misconception about Facebook's algorithm is that it's looking for which ad performs best. It's not exactly true. What it does is each person that it's considering showing the ad to, like imagine you just go onto Facebook. You're going to like scroll down a little bit and realize this coming up is going to be a new auction spot. There's an ad that can be placed. It's going to look at who all is willing to pay for that. There's probably like 100,000 companies that are all eligible to pay for it. At least 10,000, right? There's a ton of companies. So it's who's going to be willing to pay the right amount of money and who's going to have the ad that we consider to be good for the platform, that kind of stuff. And then it looks within that advertiser looking at this, which asset do we predict is going to be most influential on the behavior of this person? And that's the asset that'll show. So sometimes you have assets that work well, just don't get a ton of volume because they're more niche. They build with specific parts of the audience. And Facebook starts to see those things because of course, like it has to collect some data, but it starts to see that this asset tends to work for this group of people. What do this group of people have in common that the other people don't? And then it learns.
I gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah, it's
We have another Facebook user here asking, what is the return? Which I'm sure, again, it goes down to who's running the ads. What is their system, their team like, and their closing ratio? But what are you seeing on average? I know Steve's was he talked about it to me recently, but I know he had a pretty good return on it. I think it was like 5 or 6x.
Yeah, he was 5X in Phoenix. It depends heavily on all those things, right? So obviously doing the ads right and working with an expert makes a huge difference. But beyond that, just to give you a hypothetical scenario, let's just say I'm working with someone who flips properties versus someone who wholesales properties. Even with the exact same acquisitions, the exact same marketing, all that kind of stuff, the person who flips probably says they have double the return of the person who wholesales because they're making double the size of the deals. Right? Mm-hmm. So those things matter. If you're doing creative finance or not matters. If just because a deal can be bought deeper doesn't mean it will be bought deeper. Right? So not even just acquisitions process with being able to get deals, but how deep you're buying them, that matters. Quality of your dispositions process, even comparing wholesale to wholesale, that matters. So I can tell you it's really common for our clients to be anywhere from 3 to 7-ish. So Steve at 5 was like right in the middle. But another thing that we reviewed with Steve was that there's a diminishing return with Facebook ads. And we actually made the strategic decision to get closer to a 4X, but do more volume. So it's not all about just like ROI. I mean, it seems like everybody I talk to says it's all about ROI. I don't even believe that. I believe it's about profit. You can do a 3X return on investment with a ridiculous amount of volume. It may be better than having a 10X return on investment on your marketing channels. But
exactly.
Yeah, if you make $1,000 and spend $1,000, get 10X versus spend $3,000, or $4,000 and make a 4X, and which one makes you more money?
Yeah,
it's up in there.
There's always those trade-offs, right? And of course, at some point, more volume for lower ROI doesn't work out. But the point being, Facebook's one of those channels too, where it's like, okay, every market's going to be different. But even within a market, like we looked at Steve, we said you could be at this budget and get a 2X. You could be at that budget and have a 7X. Like we could kind of see the line of diminishing returns and strategically choose where we want to be along that.
Yeah.
It just happened that last year he was at 5X, given his budget.
Yeah, makes sense. So I got one more question before we go to Ruben's question and get onto the PPC. Does Facebook listen to what we say? Do they hear us?
I don't know, man. It's anybody's guess. There's all kinds of hypotheses. I'd like to think no. And I feel like they'd be under some serious fire if they were doing that. But on the other hand, I think it's extremely suspicious that all of the companies that seem to have invested the most into voice assistants are also the biggest advertising aggregators in the world. So it's extremely rare that you have like Amazon and Google and Facebook doing all this stuff. It's like, okay, those are just the companies that gain the most from having tons of data about people. Now, I do not think that Facebook cares to listen to you. I think the most extreme privacy invading version of this is that they're taking some information from that and basically turning it into interest categories, that this person is like maybe interested in this kind of thing, this person's interested in that kind of thing, and then using those as predictors for if you could want a product. And I don't consider that to be creepy, but maybe it's just because I'm the digital marketing guy.
Yeah, exactly. I think I heard that on Steve's podcast with the guy that created Investor Lift, that they make like the fake accounts for you as soon as you're born. Yeah. They're trying to match you. Like they're trying to match like all your preferences. They can run ads on you later.
It's so funny. I mean, there's value. What I consider it to be is relevant advertising. You build a machine that gives people what they need. I don't consider it to be an invasion of privacy because it's for good purpose. Call me crazy because I know I'm almost alone on that. I
actually don't.
And I think it's like way over dramatized. It's just it's not that creepy. Facebook doesn't really care about you beyond how they can make money from you. And wouldn't you rather have a relevant ad for something you actually want to buy than just something that doesn't even apply to you?
Yeah, I just know like every time I talk and I say like, and I'm not mad about this because I end up finding what I want because they do good about it, or they do good at giving you what you want. Like I say like I want a running hat, and then the next day I wake up, scroll on Instagram, and all I see is running hat ads, and it's like I don't know. It's a little questionable, but hey, I bought a running hat, so it ended up working. So they got me.
I think we need to hack into some iOS phones and put like anyone that says I want to sell my house, just hack it into it, start running some ads to them. But we got Ruben's question here. Brandon, how does Brandon do his keyword search? And he asked this question to follow up. Is there any website you use to do it or recommends anything?
Yeah, fair question. Hi, by the way, Ruben. I think we've been messaging on Facebook. We've been in touch. So to be completely honest with you, we do keyword research in a way that almost nobody does keyword research, and it's because we have resources that almost nobody has. So if I tell you how we do it, it's not necessarily applicable for how you could do it. And the reason there being, we have so much data that we've collected just by having like keywords that get those variant matches and stuff like that, and collecting that data across a bunch of spend across a bunch of places. Any third-party tool is going to be inferior to our first-party data set that we have because it's more complete than any of those third-party tools. And it includes data not just about how many people are searching, but what kind of click-through rate we can expect, what kind of conversion rate we can expect, what kind of lead quality we can expect. It includes so much more data that those tools wish they had, but they don't. So what we do is we analyze aggregate client data for keyword research. But if you don't have that, you can of course use third-party tools, which like popular ones, like Google has a decent keyword research tool called Google Keyword Planner. There's SEMrush, which I think is probably the best outside of that. It's not cheap. I don't know, we're probably like a few $100 a month. But honestly, for us, because we're so deep in this industry, it's not like there's like keywords we don't know about. There's not a single thing like that. It's just a factor of like our level of keyword research is like, how much is that keyword really worth to us? It's those kinds of calculations. We know that everything is good. It's about knowing, is that keyword twice as valuable as that other keyword? And that's the kind of data that helps us understand how
it's more of like, how good is this word, less about, is this word good?
Yes, exactly.
That's pretty fair. So how often do they make tweaks on, like, if one keyword works one week and it doesn't work the next week, or is it pretty stable?
The thing is, if it wasn't stable, it would be really hard to know, because you're using a bunch of keywords, and I don't think any of our clients has enough spend that they would really even have a statistically significant enough amount of data to say that one keyword worked better one week than it did the previous week. So you can look at kind of long-term trends, but I can tell you we're analyzing that data more like on a quarterly basis across all our clients at once, that kind of thing. And that is, we have a lot more statistical significance with that kind of thing. So it takes a really long time, because we have this strong baseline of knowing what things are worth. So it takes a lot of data in one account for us to be confident that it's different from the norm, if that makes sense. Like if you just look at it statistically, like we would probably have to run things like, if we're comparing our aggregate data set compared to one client, we'd probably have to run things over a year to even have enough data to say that client really performs differently from the norm, because the norm is a stronger data set than that one client. And each keyword doesn't really get that much volume. That's the tough thing. We're still like, I think most recently when I checked, about 80% of our leads come from search terms that only have one click in the account. So that's the thing, is like people think it's like these 3 keywords matter or something. Really, it's search terms that matter. Those are what people are actually searching to Google. And that's an extremely sparse data set. It's like most of the things that we get leads from are things that have never been searched before and will never get searched again. So it's a tough game.
Yeah, that's so. So how does that even work? Like, how do you, if you're not trying to rank for it, does Google just say, oh, no one else is ranking for this, so you're most similar, and just pop you over there?
Well, the way keywords work, it's not just about predicting everything that anybody could ever search. There's different ways to do it. Like you could tell Google, I want if someone searches exactly this. Like you can't do that. Google doesn't really respect that all the way. Like, oh, this is close enough. Like a misspelling, or maybe like a slight change in order of words, or maybe there's a word after it. Like we buy houses fast versus we buy houses, or whatever the case is. But there's also other types of match types where you can tell Google, for example, again, this has all gotten really blurry as Google has updated. They have something called close variants now. But you could say, for example, I want to show up on anything that includes these words. So you're not saying it has to be exactly this, but you're saying it has the word house and the word sell in it. I want to show up on that. So really, like all that stuff, you're still eligible for it. It's just the term. So that's the keyword. That's what you tell Google you want. The search term is what someone actually searched. And that's the difference. The place where people go wrong is they assume it's about the keyword. It's not about the keyword, because if you look at it, we probably run on average maybe close to 60 keywords for our clients. If you look at one search term, and you say which keyword would it match to, usually it's like 56 of our keywords or something like that. The fact that it showed up under one or another is arbitrary. And the fact that one of them, like the analogy I've used before is just saying, it's like assuming your keywords are buckets, you're making decisions based on that, but really your buckets don't have any walls and everything's just completely mixed up and it's gonna be different how it's organized into the buckets tomorrow than it was today anyways. So the point is keywords don't matter, search terms do. And we try to move to the search term level, but you use keywords as a query almost, as a way of getting there.
Gotcha. A way to capture things that maybe wouldn't be captured otherwise.
Yeah, it's more broad, right? Many search terms match to one keyword. But you can, I mean, there's all kinds of hierarchical rules within Google about all. It gets extremely complicated. But
I think that leads you to kind of like the way that you're having a more broad, like keyword phrase or keywords, and you get search terms and then all these things. But how do you keep, like you said, you know, buy my house or sell my house or whatever it is? Like, how do you keep the right words getting in and keeping the wrong people out? Like, even though Google maybe takes a word away, you used an example. What was an example? Basically, it's the difference between being a buyer and a seller and the keyword just by one word being removed.
Yeah, I think I've given an example a few times of, like, if you look at the difference between we buy houses and buy houses.
Yeah, that's it.
Those are practically, to Google, those are almost the same thing. Google's like, it's one word, it's we. It's not even that relevant of a word. But same thing. Of course, you and I know if someone types buy houses, they are most likely a buyer. If they type we buy houses, they're more than likely a motivated seller.
Exactly.
Very different value. So the way you control that is through negative keywords. And let's just say you put buy houses as a negative keyword, then that would no longer trigger there. So the way you have to do that is you run ads, you have to check your search terms, you have to see what are you actually getting, you have to exclude things that aren't what you want. And it's like playing whack-a-mole sometimes. There's always something new popping up and you're always scratching it. Because of this fact that I told you that there's so many things that are searched. Like if you look, 15% of Google searches every day are things that have never been searched before.
Shoot, that's crazy.
That's a lot. 15%.
Yeah, people are always searching new things. So we always see weird stuff popping up, even though we've been doing this for a long time. But part of the value of working with us is we have this very extensive negative keyword list that's at least 100 times longer than our actual keyword list. Because we've seen all this junk. Anytime we see something bad that shows up, we add it to the list and we exclude it from all of our accounts. Because that's PPC wasted spend. If you get that buyer traffic on accident, you pay for that click. I mean, you pay for the click. You don't go back on that. You just keep it from happening in the future. So there's a learning curve at the beginning of starting a campaign because of that.
It's not cheap either. You gotta get rid of those negatives.
Yeah. And this industry is especially tough with it, just because Google doesn't really get the difference between motivated sellers and sellers, or between sellers and buyers even. It's just such a niche thing. Like their technology is just not really aware of how it all works. So Google's match types in this industry are just garbage. They'll just it's insane the stuff that they will match to your keywords that you just think like there's no way these things are related. Right.
And for some reason they are. So
yeah.
So what's are there any, like, does Google like tell you guys like the changes they make, or like how does that all work? Because I'm sure they're making a bunch of changes all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's different for PPC versus SEO. PPC, they're going to announce everything. They're going to say exactly how it's changing and all that stuff. And I feel like they're always throwing curveballs at us, and we're always trying to figure out how to react to it and how to capitalize on it. And sometimes it's really good things, and sometimes it's bad things, and sometimes it's frustrating things. All of the above, right? On SEO, Google's whole goal is to provide the most relevant result, and unfortunately, everybody's trying to game that, so they're always updating their algorithms to try to get around that. So it's and they don't exactly say this is exactly how it works because they don't want you to game it. So it's SEO. They will announce when they update something, and they'll announce kind of a general idea what they're changing. They're taking into account different types of things, but they don't give you enough detail for you to game it. And it was, it's probably only 5 or 6 years ago that they moved to machine learning models instead of they're just logic-based models. So, I mean, they're at the point where they don't even know what affects rankings. In some ways, the machine just figures it out for a lot.
I guess AI.
Yeah, of course they know kind of, they designed that to predict based on certain things, right? So it's not like they don't know, but
They're like, it values this more
yeah,
than
the
that.
specific like coefficients of different things, so to speak, if you're going to compare it to a statistical model, they don't know that stuff. So anyways, my point being, on the SEO side, they stayed intentionally vague. On the PPC side, they tell you exactly what's going on.
Yeah, they're trying to get you to think you know how to spend money.
Yeah, well,
Exactly.
they're always, like I said, they're always throwing a big curveball at us. So sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse.
Yeah, for sure. I imagine it's a giant pain in the tail. What's like one of the biggest things you feel like people mess up on doing digital marketing that you've seen in your clients? Like maybe this previous before they worked with you, or other providers. You don't have to throw anyone on their bus, or just how people, generally do it. Just the operational side.
Good question. I mean, biggest problems we see. Let's just say we look at the operations side. Assuming their digital marketing goes amazing. Speed delayed was one thing I mentioned. The next thing that's really important is lead qualification methods. Like it's fairly common that people just don't qualify their leads properly, and what they end up doing is not going on enough appointments. Versus our clients that are doing the best tend to go on every appointment that they can if it's a seller and they have a house to sell. Because if you're used to like text or cold call or something like that, if you go on every appointment, you're going to go on 1,000 appointments and you're going to close like 2 of them and you're going to get burnt out, and it's a bad idea. If you look and you try to qualify hard, what you do is you miss things and you mark qualified leads as unqualified and you miss opportunities. So that's probably like one of the biggest things I've seen. Like I have a lot of people come to me and they say, my digital marketing is not working. I look at their campaigns and I'm like, you know what? Like, yeah, this could be better, but this could be like 20 or 30% better. And it needs to be 200% better for it to actually be profitable for you. And a lot of that, like I can meet you in the middle, but a lot of that's going to come from your side because you're doing all the stuff wrong on the side. It's a pretty common scenario that we run into. Beyond that, there's the thing about PPC and Facebook and SEOs. It's like you have to do 100 things right, and if you do one wrong, then it's
Brandon.
like, the question is, those 100 things is like the most common thing to mess up. It's kind of hard to say, but I think honestly, just like strategically knowing what the best channel is to do and sticking with it. I see so many people that just like dip their toe in digital marketing and freak out when they spend money. It's not a cheap game, and Google will eat your money, Facebook will eat your money if you don't know how to do it right. And even if you're doing it right, it takes some time to work. So honestly, I would say not giving it enough time is probably the most common thing I see people doing wrong. You just gotta you just see it end up getting based on luck, Like half the people just start it and they get success right away, and therefore they think it's great, and the other half don't get success right away and don't think it's great. But long term, the results of both halves would have ended up being the same. It's just the luck of what they got right away. Mm-hmm. And I hate a business model based on luck. If you're gonna make your success based on luck, I think if you can build like a real strategy and know what you're doing, and then be ready to be consistent with that, that's a recipe for success.
Yeah.
I like that. We got a couple minutes here, Brandon. How can the listeners, watching now and later, how can they reach out to you, get, some of your services, the big man, Brandon Bateman services, the star,
the king of digital marketing,
the king of digital marketing for real estate. So tell us, how can they reach out to you so if they're interested, start running some ads?
Yeah, the best way would be to reach out to our team and see if we can build a strategy for you. So Noah would be the guy to talk to. I know that you guys have both spoken with, maybe not you, Gino. I think you were traveling the world or something last time I saw Chandler. But I know Chandler, it's Noah actually that did your SEO audit.
Yeah.
I think you can attest to the fact that he provides some serious value.
Yeah, Noah definitely knows his stuff. We'll leave it there.
Yeah, I met him at the last event.
Yeah, I didn't know Noah was a big runner. He's a big trail runner.
I guess he is. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a point in his life where he allowed that. I don't think he does quite as much now. But back when he was running from his problems, and I think he's
Exactly. He's leaving.
But anyways, that's the best way to do it. So the way you get in touch with Noah is you go to batemancollective.com.
BatemanCollective.com.
Yeah, and you just fill out the form. He's the guy who gets that, and he'll reach out to you. If anybody has any specific questions for me, I mean, you can always find me on Facebook. My email is brandon@batemancollective.com. If anybody wants to ask me any specific questions,
Put it here.
that's everything.
Perfect.
Heck yeah.
And I think me and Chandler, you want to make an announcement too, Chandler, what we got going this week, and I'm gonna put some of these notes in here for.
So while Gina's taking those notes, so what we got going on in Georgia, it's a little bit farther out. It's in Atlanta, Georgia. Well, not Atlanta. It's actually in Brazelton, if you're familiar with that.
We got to fly Brandon out.
But we got a meetup where, we DM us if you want to come. We'll send you the link to sign up and all the details. But it's at 5 p.m. Eastern until 7. We're going to do a $500 bar tab. So if you show up early, you can get drunk on our dime. And
can't do that for Utah, though.
No, not in Utah. No, but in Georgia you can. So we'll see you guys there, hopefully, and bring your friends, tell everyone about it, and hopefully we can give some value. Gino, you want to share a little bit about what we're talking about?
Yeah, no, we're just going to talk about our business, but the link is in the Facebook group, Level Up Entrepreneurs. If you're watching this on YouTube, Level Up Entrepreneurs is where the link's at. But for our next upcoming event, hopefully we can fly out Big Brandon for the day, pay for his flight, get him out here like Stevie, and we can get some rock climbing in at Stone Mountain. Only rock we got in the entire.
There's no powder to ski down here. No powder. No backcountry.
We can go mudding if you want.
We could go mudding.
Go mudding in the mud.
Mud bogging.
But anyway, we'll end it here. Thanks again, Big Brandon. And thanks for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely.